There's a misconception that locks don't require any maintenance or much maintenance. And before I got my locks, that's exactly what I believed. But this couldn't be further from the truth. And in this video, you're going to learn exactly why. Hey friends, welcome back to the Dreadlock Culture channel. My name is Nadia, and in today's video, we're talking all about dreadlock maintenance. We're also going to be talking about what you can do at home if you don't want to go to a loctician, or maybe you don't have a loctician nearby, and how you can maintain your locks at home, not just in the day-to-day, but in the long term as well. So let's jump right in. I'm going to start by talking about my personal routine, which is fairly low maintenance. And then I'm going to expand on that a little bit and include a few other things that you can be doing if you want to kick up your routine a notch up from mine. Let's start with the daily routine. I always sleep with a nightcap. This is exactly what it looks like, and mine is long. I started with a very short one, and as my locks grew, then I grew into this one. Anyway, this is called a satin bonnet. The one I have here is a double line satin bonnet. So it's on the inner and the outer part, and this just helps to prevent frizz and lint from getting into your locks from your bedding. So I'll wake up, I'll take my bonnet out, and then I basically just kind of shake my head a little bit, and I will spritz it with my daily moisturizer spray. My spray consists of a mixture of distilled water with essential oils, and I have several recipes if you're interested in combining essential oils and trying out different scent varieties. But basically, you can mix the essential oils of your choice with some distilled water in a bottle, and then just spritz this all over your locks and leave them to air dry. And this is gonna hydrate your locks and make sure that your hair remains healthy and flexible. I don't always style my locks, but if I do need them out of my face, or I just don't want them hanging down because it's a hot day or something, then I'll either put them up in a bun, or I'll use a headband like this, and just, like, it's also nice for a little style if you're going to go out somewhere and you just want them to look a little different. But that's the extent of my styling for the most part. And occasionally, if I am going somewhere nicer, or I do need them to be a little bit more presentable, then I will style them in different ways, but that's not the norm. If that day I know I'm going to be in a dusty environment or working outside in the garden or something like that, then I will definitely cover them to prevent any dust or like debris or anything from getting in them. What I'll do is I'll cover them and I will put them up in a bun, and then I'll take a scarf like this and just wrap them. So, have my hair up in a bun, and then I'll just put this like right over and just tie it in the back, just to make sure that all my hair gets covered and there's no extra dust going into it. That way you just don't have to be washing it as often, and it does help to keep them cleaner longer. Finally, at night, I will put my bonnet back on, and yeah, I'll just, definitely go to sleep with your bonnet. It does help a lot, and I wish I would have known this sooner than when I started using it. But by all means, it's worth the investment, and it's not the sexiest thing to wear to bed, but it's going to help your locks. So I highly recommend it. My weekly maintenance consists of washing my locks. I generally pick a day that I know I'll be home, or that I don't need to be going somewhere in the morning. What I'll do is I will take my shampoo and an empty bottle. I'll take a little bit of shampoo, maybe say a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of shampoo, pour it into the empty bottle, and then fill up the bottle at least halfway with water, and dilute that shampoo, shake it, and then pour it all over my scalp. So when I wash my locks, I focus on the scalp area primarily, and just kind of like the area around the roots, and wash it real good. And any extra soap that comes off that goes into the locks, then I just kind of rub my locks a little bit together to get some of that extra soap in my locks. But I don't necessarily put shampoo into my locks themselves. I just let that extra bubbles wash and help me wash my locks. When I'm done washing them, I rinse it at least 2 times, just to make sure that my locks are clean and soap free. And then I will squeeze them and put my microfiber towel on for about an hour. So the microfiber towel I have, it's a whole lot bigger than this, but this is the kind of texture that it is. And it absorbs a lot of water. This is lint free, so it's not going to cause any lint on your locks. And it's going to absorb the bulk of the water in your locks, at least for maybe the first 30 to 60 minutes. So take that, let it absorb as much of the water that it can, and then take your towel off and let your locks air dry for the rest of the day. So in between that time that my hair is air drying, what I typically do is I pull my roots apart just to make sure that they're not mingling with each other and that locks aren't merging together. And another thing that you can do, which I used to do more often when my locks weren't mature, but nowadays I don't do them as much, is to palm roll them. So you'll take the lock and then just roll it between your hands. What this is going to do is it helps to create a round formation or a round shape for your locks and encourages any extra loose hairs, or if you have loops or little bubbles or things that are naturally forming in your locks, it helps them just kind of transform over time into a round shape and more of an even lock. If by evening time I feel that my locks are still slightly damp, then I'll take a blow dryer and on medium or low heat, I will blow dry them starting at the roots and working my way down through to the tips of the locks. And this helps to just encourage some more airflow to go in through the locks and make sure that they're dry or as dry as possible before bed. On the same day I wash my locks, then I kind of made it a habit to wash my scarf, my bonnet, and my towel so that they're clean for the following week. If around bedtime you feel that your locks have not fully dried or they're even slightly damp, then I recommend that day you skip using the bonnet, and instead, if you have a silk pillowcase, then use that instead. Or even if you have your microfiber towel, you can lay that across where your pillow and then use that instead, so that you still don't get the lint, but it'll just help your locks fully dry through the night, and by the next day they'll be great. Next is my biannual treatment, I guess you could call it. And this is something I do either once or twice a year. I try to aim for twice, but occasionally it doesn't work out and I end up doing it just once. But what it is a lock detox. And essentially, I have a whole guide on this, but essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take an empty bucket, a clean bucket for you to soak your locks in. And you're going to put some warm water in there, mix some baking soda, and then once that's all mixed in together, you're going to soak your locks in there for about 20 to 30 minutes. Then dump that water out and refill it with clean water and some apple cider vinegar. You're going to soak your locks again for another 20 to 30 minutes, and then you're going to rinse it all completely off. And yeah, you're going to do the same drying procedure. So microfiber towel and then the air drying until, make sure you do this earlier in the day. So then by evening, your locks are dry. This is going to take a lot of things out of your locks that you probably didn't even know were in there. I'm not talking about bugs or things like that. I'm saying dirt and just, things that we maybe collect that, in the environment that we don't realize are even there. And don't be surprised if the first or maybe the first few times that you do this kind of detox, your locks or the water from your locks is very brown. It is extremely normal and it's okay. Just this is why we do it, so that your locks are getting clean from the inside out. And yeah, the baking soda helps to remove a lot of that dirt. And then the apple cider vinegar helps to just restore your health, the health of your hair and the pH balance and all of that. So they work really well together. Anyway, that is the detox. As for root maintenance, in my personal experience, I do very little of it. My hair, I don't really care that my roots are messy, and they're not even that messy anymore. They used to be worse. So in the beginning stages, they could look a lot more unruly than they are, in the mature phases of your lock journey. But when I feel like I need it, I will occasionally crochet some of the loose hairs that are growing outside of my locks. That way, I just encourage them to start growing into the lock that they're supposed to go into. And if not, I get really lazy about doing it. There's a two-part thing. One is I'm just lazy and I just, the time passes and I just don't really ever get to it. But another thing is that when I'm sitting in front of a mirror trying to look at how I'm doing my maintenance, it strains your eyes a lot. And so it's something I don't enjoy doing. And then in the back, it's kind of difficult, but I personally am not much of a root maintenance person. Over time, I do separate my roots so that they don't come together. But other than that, I don't really mind if they are a little bit messy, because if I need to be somewhere where I need to be the most presentable as possible and not show the roots or not show that they're as messy as they are, then I just style my locks and nobody can really tell. But if it's not a little bit of crochet maintenance that I do from time to time, then I will go to a loctician. But nowadays I'll go maybe not even once a year, really. I'll go maybe every, 18 months or every 2 years. So if you want more maintenance on your roots than that, but you don't want to go to a loctician or you can't, then near the middle end of this video, I will be showing you exactly what you can do for your roots. So stick around because I'll get to that. Now that's the overview of my general routine. But if you're in a season where maybe your locks are very dry or your scalp kind of just needs like an extra boost of hydration or something, then here's a few other things that you can do alongside that basic routine that we just discussed. As for the daily maintenance, like I said, I do moisturize them every day in the morning. But if you feel like your locks are dry or crunchy, maybe it's winter, and this happens during winter for me as well, where I just kind of feel like it needs more hydration, then maybe around midday or early evening, I'll spritz them with water again. And you can do this 2 or 3 times a day, just whatever your hair needs at the time. But make sure that you're not going to bed with wet locks or that your locks stay wet or damp the entire day. So you can spritz them in the morning, maybe around midday or early evening, and that can help a lot to just keep them a little bit more moisturized during the drier months of the year. Then once a week, you can also incorporate a hot oil treatment or just a basic oil treatment on your scalp and the root area of your locks. The way you can do this is by taking a carrier oil and an essential oil or a blend of both. I have a long list of carrier oils and essential oils that you can choose from, and it lists all the properties that each oil has. So I will link those in the description for you. But let's pretend that you want to use castor oil, grapeseed oil, and rosemary essential oil. So you're gonna blend all those ingredients together. You don't need a whole lot. Then you're gonna take, whatever bowl you mix them in, you're gonna take the tips of your fingers, just dab them in the oil and massage your entire scalp with them. You don't wanna drown your head in oil, but just gently massage so that there's, enough that your scalp can absorb some of it and, into your hair. And anyway, just massage for a little while, maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Once you've massaged that into your head, then take a plastic shower cap and put it over your head. And you can do a couple things. You can just leave it as is, and then your hair can absorb it, and scalp as well. Or you can just take a towel, put it in the dryer, dry it for a few minutes, and then take it out right when it's warm and wrap your head in that, so then it brings some heat into your head. Of course, you don't want it to be scalding. So if you just put it in the dryer for maybe 5 minutes and get it warm, and then just wrap your head with that warm towel. Remember, you're going to have the plastic cap on your head already, so then it doesn't transfer any lint and it doesn't get stuck to your hair. But wrap your head in that warm towel and then leave it for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And then you can remove that once you're done. The other thing you can do is you can get a heat cap that looks like this. And just once you've massaged all the oils, then you would put in that plastic shower cap. This one actually comes with a shower cap, so you can use that one. and then put that on top of your head. And the rest of my locks, I just let them stay loose. So I only focus that on the scalp. And then you can plug it in and adjust the heat and the time that you want it to be on your head. So I usually put it in there for maybe, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes. You can do more if you'd like. And that's gonna also kind of have the same effect as the warm towel would have. Then once you're done with all of that, you're going to keep the plastic shower cap, and then on top of it, you're gonna put your silk bonnet. The reason I do this is I always keep the plastic one on because it's gonna help to maintain all the oils inside that area, but also you don't want the oil to stain your bed sheets or your bed or any of that. So it kind of helps both. Then you put the silk bonnet on top of that, you go to sleep, and then the next morning you wash your hair as you normally would, and make sure that when you're washing your scalp, that again, you're gently massaging, but you're, making sure that all those oils are being washed off. Of course, after you wash them and you've wrapped your hair in the microfiber towel and you're air drying them, then that's when you can separate your roots and palm roll, etc. But if you do feel that your locks are still very dry, and I'm talking about the locks here, not the roots, the locks themselves, if they're still maybe crunchy or something, then you can take a steamer, and this could be a clothes steamer or a hair steamer, and you can, give it enough of a distance so that you don't burn yourself, but you'll take the steamer and just steam from the top up and then from the bottom up. And if you don't have a steamer, you can go to a steam room. If that's maybe you go to the gym and there's a steam room available there, then you can take advantage of that and just let your locks absorb some of that steam. And if you have none of these options, then you can spray your locks again with the same moisturizer spray, maybe a few hours before bedtime. Just give them an extra boost of hydration. If you suffer from a very itchy scalp, then something that you can do maybe once a month is after you've washed your locks, then you can follow that up with an apple cider vinegar rinse. You never want to use straight apple cider vinegar. You always want to dilute it. So what I recommend you do is you take an empty bottle or container that is clean, then add about, maybe put 2 cups of water in it, more or less, and then about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Mix it all together, and then after you've washed your locks, then pour that all over your scalp, primarily targeting the scalp, and then massage it while you're in the shower. But while you're massaging it, don't rinse it off yet. Give it maybe 5 or so minutes for that blend to soak into your scalp and work its magic, and then rinse it all off. And again, when you're finished showering, then just wrap it in your microfiber towel and air dry, etc. Something to note is that apple cider vinegar can detangle and loosen locks. So you don't want to be using it too often if you are in the early stages of your lock journey or they're not fully mature yet. And this is because it kind of could become counterproductive to the maturing process. And, that's something that I experienced a lot of itchiness in the very beginning as my scalp was adjusting. So I was doing it maybe once a month, occasionally every 2 times a month. And, it's just going to help one thing. Maybe it's counterproductive to another thing, but use your best judgment. It's just a little bit of a warning so that you know that could happen. But it didn't deter me from using it completely. But if you experience softness or loosening of your locks, maybe just don't do it as often. And now finally, for the root maintenance, I recommend you don't manipulate your roots at all within maybe a 6-week time frame minimum. But if you can wait a good 8 weeks or more, then that's even better. If you are consistently tugging at your roots or playing with them or using, a crochet needle to tuck in loose hairs or whatever, it can cause a lot of tension, even if you don't necessarily feel it. So you don't want that because it can cause hair loss in the long run. And maybe when you start noticing that, it's probably too late. So To prevent any future hair loss or other issues, I say if you can wait a good 8 weeks between any maintenance at all on your roots, even better. So a few of the techniques that you can try to maintain your roots at home without going to a loctician are, the first one is called root rubbing, the second one is crochet, and the third is interlocking. But interlocking works for type 4 hair only, and you definitely don't want to be doing it if you have type 1 hair like me. It's gonna cause more problems than any good, because with type 1 hair, it's just a different texture that doesn't knot the same way. So it works for type 4 hair, but definitely not on type 1 hair. I researched through so many different videos to find the best tutorials for you guys, for anybody that wants to try these techniques at home. I'm going to show them to you, and I will also link them in the description in case you want to watch these videos in full. Then you can for sure go and check those out. So this first method we're going to look at is called the root rubbing method.
Okay, I'm going to take a dreadlock and all the loose hair around it, make a peace sign with my bottom hand, and clamp it right in between the peace signs.
Notice how the hand that's against the scalp doesn't move. So the only one that you're using to make the circles is the upper hand. And here she does it in slow motion so you can see the technique.
Clamping it close to my root, getting all that hair in there. Same with the other hand, taking peace sign, clamping the same hair, and doing small little circular motions with my top hand.
Keep in mind now that this technique is gonna help to prevent all of that extra frizziness from the roots that are the new hair that's growing on the roots. But once you wash your hair, those are probably going to come out, because that's not like going into the inner parts of the root. But if you have somewhere nice to be, then you know this is a good way to kind of maintain them for a short term if you need that. This is another video that I really like. Here he's explaining how that extra, you know how you have this like extra maybe inch or so of loose hair that isn't knotted as your hair grows. So he explains how you start to create knots in that area without using a crochet hook. Now in this next video, what she shows you is how to do crochet maintenance at the roots. So let's take a look.
So pinch and wrap, that's what we're doing. So the hook is going to be inserted vertically down the right side of your dread. So it's only like literally that much. So it's not going through the middle or anything, it's just going straight down. And then it's going to come underneath, pull out a little thread like that, push so that the thread is, the stitch is pushed all the way to the thicker part of your hook there. Turn it over so the hook's facing down. And then you're basically scratching the surface like that. And then push again so we can go back underneath. So it's underneath, over the top, underneath, over the top.
And finally, this is the interlocking tutorial. In this video, she does the 3-point rotation, and you can do 3 or 4. But basically what you don't want to do, like a huge mistake that could happen with interlocking if you do it wrong, is that you open, a little section of your locks at the root to pull your entire lock through, right? And if you're using the same opening every single time to pull the same lock through that same area, then it's just going to create a massive hole, and your lock is going to end up with a big hole in the middle. So to avoid that, you want to interlock it in one direction, and then you want to take it into a different direction. So you can do, like, if you mentally think like north, east, south, west, then you can interlock it in different directions. And then that way you can see in this particular video how she does it, so that you're not going through that same hole every single time. And that will avoid or prevent the, locks from getting a big hole in the middle later on. So there you have it. Those are 4 different ways that I recommend that you maintain your roots if you wanted to do those at home. If you have somebody that can help you maintain them at home, then I think that those videos are also extremely valid and super helpful. And this way you're not ruining the roots and you're helping all the new growth grow into the appropriate root, and just it helps keep your locks as neat as possible for as long as possible. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you have any questions about locks or lock maintenance, then be sure to leave them in the comments so I can answer those for you. If you love locks and you want to see more lock content, then please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified anytime I post another video. I post videos weekly, so I will see you guys in the next one. And until then, I wish you guys a beautiful week ahead. Bye.